Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Thursday's Gentle Movement at Home. We're just about to get started today. As many of you know, my name is Jen Henson. I'm the Director of Education at PNBC. And today I'm joined by Will Bateman, who is a physiotherapist with Vancouver Coastal Health. And this is Will's second time back, so we're super excited to have him. And I think he's got a great session planned for you today. Just a really important note that Will isn't able to provide specific medical advice for your conditions. The recommendation is that if you have any specific questions, do speak with your healthcare provider. And many of the pain clinics are offering virtual consultations if you need to connect with a specialist. We are recording the session so you can view it later. If you've enjoyed this series of movements, you can do them again, or you can send it on to your friends and family so they can try it. Our videos are on our YouTube channel, as well as on our Facebook page under the video section. We do launch a little poll at the end. If you could take a couple minutes and just let us know what you thought of the session, we really appreciate it. And if you do have any questions, around technical support or anything like that, put them in the chat, and then we'll just take a few minutes at the end if you have any specific questions for Will that are around the movements in the session. We will take a bit of time to just have a chat around that, so you can put those questions in the Q&A or in the chat if you want. Upcoming next week, we have got Tuesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock, both with Neil. So that's June 2nd and June 4th. And we have the larger schedule is on our website. You can see the link there. Okay, I think that's all my announcements. So I'm going to hand it over to Will now, and I'm going to disappear. Have a great session, everyone.
Hi, everybody. My name is Will. I'm a physiotherapist here with Vancouver Coastal Health. We run a persistent pain clinic in the downtown east side. So thanks for having me here at PNBC. It was fun to do it last time, and I'm looking forward to this class. Today's class, I've structured a little bit differently. So I don't know if folks have ever heard of motor imagery. Probably one of the easiest ways of thinking about this are from the sports psychology world, where somebody's imagining, say, you have to bat a ball and you're trying to perfect your swing. Sometimes these athletes will start to visualize how they go about performing. So how does it feel when they hit the ball? What are their emotions like? What are they thinking about? What is it that they're experiencing? Can they hear the crowd cheer for them, or are they getting heckling? What are the things that are happening to them while they're trying to hit the ball? It's called motor imagery, and it's been quite successful in the sports psychology world. And we're starting to see that this motor imagery can be helpful for folks who experience persistent pain. So today I'm going to try to do a bit of an introduction to motor imagery and how you might be able to use it with some of the more functional tasks or more the functional movements that you do in your day-to-day. So we'll start quite gently, laying on the floor. So hopefully you have a mat at home. You might also, I have this table here. You can do this on your couch or on your bed as well. I might demonstrate a little bit of both so that you can try. And what we'll do is we'll go through these motor imagery exercises and visualize ourselves performing these tasks, thinking about what we're feeling, thinking about what's happening in our environment, whether there's some distractions or whether we're also hungry while doing these different types of tasks. While also, after the fact, we'll try to perform the tasks and do it in a gentle way, trying to move freely with hopefully a little bit less pain. So that being said, it's always important to listen to what your body's telling you. If you're experiencing pain or discomfort, you need to take a step back or you need to take a break. There's no problem whatsoever to do that. You do what feels comfortable for yourself. And if any of the tasks sound scary or potentially painful, or you worry about causing more pain after the fact, there's no pressure to complete any of the tasks. the other side to that is you can consider doing half the task. You don't have to do the whole thing. So say we're going from a laying position to a sitting position, you can work on doing it the way that you typically do it, because chances are you are already doing that. But you might be able to try to incorporate some of these motor imagery techniques while you're doing it. Or say we're reaching for something off the floor in different positions while we're sitting. If you don't want to go all the way to the floor, that's fine. You might just start halfway, moving slowly, gently. So do what feels comfortable for you, do what feels safe for you. And with some of the techniques that you may have learned in the prior tasks, it might be useful to ask yourself, am I able to do this in a more comfortable way? Am I grimacing? Am I holding my breath? Am I bracing or anticipating pain? If so, am I able to calm my system down? Am I able to slow down, do it a little bit more gently, and see whether that helps our pain? Yeah. So let's give this a bit of a shot. I guess one more thing before we go, or before we start this stuff. I like to encourage folks to think about what are the things that we're trying to work on when we're trying to improve or lessen our pain. And broadly we think about our body, and broadly we think about our nervous system. So our body being our bones, our tissues, our muscles, our joints, our ligaments. But what also plays a really important role is the nervous system. So the spinal cord, the brain, the nerve endings into our feet, into our hands, and how those two things work together. So I like this motor imagery work because it kind of taps into both. We often use our brain to think about our brain has to work when we're thinking about rolling over in bed or sitting up. So by imagining doing this in a comfortable position, it taps into into similar motor networks, we call them, or neurotags. And if we can start to change these things, sometimes we see an improvement in the pain that we experience. And some of the research is starting to suggest that. So it's kind of exciting stuff. So let's start off gently, and we'll just do a really quick check-in with our body. So you can close your eyes, or you can keep your eyes open. You can keep your feet planted on the floor, palms on your laps, and then just quickly check in on how your neck is feeling. How does your head feel? And how do the shoulders feel? How does your left shoulder feel? How does your right shoulder feel? Does it feel loose? Does it feel tense? Are you experiencing pain in any of these positions? Think about your rib cage, maybe your chest, your stomach, your back. Just do a quick check-in. How are we feeling today? Is it tense? Is it loose? Is it feeling? What type of pain are we experiencing? Or think about the areas of your body where you're not experiencing pain, where things feel good. Think about your thighs. Think about the back of the legs, perhaps your feet. Just a quick body scan. Okay. So the next thing we'll do is I want to bring awareness to how you're breathing. So we all breathe a little bit differently. We all have these different patterns. So we'll take a minute, and I want you to place your hands just on top of your shoulders like this, and take a couple of breaths. And just take note of whether or not your hands rise. They might not. How much are they rising by? Do they stay in one position? Or do they come up as you take a deeper breath? And then you're going to place a hand on your chest. And again, take a couple of normal breaths, just the way that you would typically breathe. And take note of whether or not your breath is pushing your hand away from you, or whether that hand is staying relatively quiet. If you need to take a deeper breath, does that hand move more? And then place your hands on your rib cage. If this is difficult, perhaps you can just place it a little bit closer. And again, take note of whether or not your hands are rising. Or whether they're staying relatively still. And then finally, we'll place our hand on our belly. And same idea. Take note of whether your hand is rising with the belly or whether it's staying still. How much is it moving? And I want you to ask yourself, when you were going through those different movements, what parts were moving more and what parts were moving less? Have a think about that. And as we go through some of these exercises, if you feel like you're feeling quite relaxed, quite calm right now, we'll try to go back to we'll try to think back to those types of sensations that we experienced, or to say we're feeling calm when we're breathing with our belly. Then we'll try to come back to that and focus on calming our breath. Okay. Okay. So the first exercise, we're going to have you laying down. Now you can lay on a couch, you can lay on the floor, you can lay on your bed, whatever feels comfortable. And when we're laying down, I want you to think about the occasions in which you might be laying down. So typically when we're falling asleep, or perhaps we're resting on the couch, taking a nap, or perhaps it's the middle of the day. I want you to think about, when do you typically lay down? And I'm going to pick the morning when I wake up out of bed. And if you feel comfortable, again, go ahead and close your eyes. If you need to keep them open, that's fine. But what I want you to think about is, how do I feel when I first wake up in the morning? What are the thoughts that are going through my mind? How does my body feel in the morning? Is the light shining through the windows? Or is it an overcast day? Is my door closed? Am I thinking about my first cup of coffee? And now, sometimes people will start to anticipate pain getting out of bed. And what we want to try to do is imagine ourselves slowly rolling over to our side without experiencing any pain. Thinking about, what would it feel like if my body wasn't experiencing any pain? Perhaps our backs feel loose. It's a fluid movement to the side. Perhaps our knees guide our movement, and the knees are feeling nice and loose, nice and relaxed. We might feel hopeful and happy that we're not experiencing much pain or discomfort. We might feel excited, or we might just have a positive mindset, positive attitude. So take a minute here just to imagine yourself rolling over onto your left side. We won't do it just yet. We're just gonna put ourselves in our minds and just imagine all the things that are happening around you in your environment, the time of day, how you typically feel. And I want you to imagine yourself moving over to your left side without experiencing much pain or much discomfort while you're doing it. And I want you to think about all the different ways that you might, I want you to think about the way that you would go about doing it. So perhaps you have to bend your foot first. We won't actually bend our foot just yet, but perhaps you have to bend your foot before you actually start to lift your left, before you start to roll over. So I want you to imagine yourself doing it. And I want you to imagine yourself doing it without very much pain. And now I want you to check on your breathing. I want you to place your hand maybe on your belly and on your chest. And I want you to try to take nice steady breaths. As you get comfortable, you're just going to lengthen your breath. Trying to keep all of the tension in our body nice and calm, nice and loose. Trying to think of feeling relaxed. And now, when you're ready, we're actually going to try the movement. So think about how you felt in your imagination when you were visualizing this movement, feeling good, positive, not much pain or discomfort. You might still feel pulling while you're doing this exercise. You might still feel tension in certain parts of your body. But very gently and calmly, I want you to actually try to bend over to your left, moving over to your left side. You might have a pillow, or you can just place your hands on your head. Trying to keep our breath as calm and as relaxed as possible. Trying to keep the movement as fluid as possible. Once you're over there, you might take another breath or two, trying to stay calm. If you found you had to grimace or you had to hold your breath to get over to your left side, now's your chance to try to let it settle down. Try to get your breath calm and relaxed again. Nice and slow. Now, we didn't visualize this, but I want you to go back onto your back very slowly in a similar way that you got onto your left side. So perhaps your upper body starts to pull, then your knee. Nice and slow, keeping your breath calm, keeping your breath relaxed. And take a minute here just to visualize yourself moving onto your right side. So thinking about that time of day, is it in the morning when you're getting out of bed? Is it in the afternoon when you're taking a nap? And now it's time to roll over onto the right side. Are you feeling hungry? Are you feeling thirsty? What clothes are you wearing? Is it touching? Are you wearing, a warm sweater? Do you have a blanket on top of you? Do you have your shoes on the couch? Or are you barefooted? What position are you in? And you're going to visualize moving onto your right side, nice and slow, nice and steady, without experiencing much pain, maybe feeling some tension here and there, but keeping our breath calm, imagining the movement going fluidly, feeling good for our body. Then you're going to check on your breath. When you're ready, I tend to raise my leg to get up. You're just going to slowly, keeping your breath calm and steady, move over onto your right side. Keeping your breath steady, nice and calm. If you held your breath, if you found that it was quite tense to do that, this is your time to try to calm your breath, give your body a chance to relax. If you can't roll onto your right side for whatever reason, or your left side for that matter, there's no need to actually try the movement. You can simply visualize yourself doing it. Visualize yourself doing it in the typical environment that you would do it. There's no need to do any of these movements. The exercises can be simply focusing on actually doing the movement. Thinking about doing the movement in our mind, visualizing ourselves, imagining ourselves doing the movement in a comfortable way. Okay. So this next one is more of a couch or a bed type exercise. We can think about doing it on the mat as well. And I'll show you two different examples here. But I'm going to start off doing it on, say, a couch or a bed. And the movement is simply going to be going from a laying position to a sitting position and trying to do that as fluidly, as slowly as possible. So I'm going to take my shoes off for this part. Okay. And to get down onto the bed, I might just focus on my breath, trying to stay fluid and calm. Okay. So again, before we do before we actually perform the movements, we're going to visualize ourselves doing it. So let's think about ourselves either in the morning when we're about to get out of bed, or we can think about ourselves in the afternoon after we've taken a nap, and it's time to get into a sitting position. I want you to think about, again, how do you feel while you're doing it? What are some of the thoughts that are going through your mind? Do they tend to be fearful? Are you worried about experiencing pain or discomfort? Or can you change your thoughts so that it's a positive thought? I can do this without experiencing pain. What would it feel like if we were to do this without experiencing pain? How would the movement look? What would it feel like? But besides that, what clothes am I wearing? Do I smell somebody cooking something in the kitchen? Do I smell a fresh cup of coffee brewing? Or the air coming through the windows with the sun shining through the windows? What do I hear? Am I on a busy street corner? Or can I hear the birds chirping in the spring? Am I thirsty? Is my mouth tasty like mine is right now? Or am I hungry? Is it time to grab a bite? And I want you to think about the movement of going from a laying position to a sitting position. What do I typically do? For me, I'll lay onto my left side. I'm going to let my legs move or fall off the bed. And then I'm very slowly going to use my right and left hands to push me up. And I'm going to picture my thoughts. I'm going to be quite confident that I can do this without experiencing very much pain or very much discomfort. I'm going to feel hopeful that this is going well and that I'm able to move without experiencing pain. And I'm going to think about all the different things that happen. I'm going to visualize myself. I'm going to think about all the different things that happen in my body to get myself into a sitting position. Now I'm going to bring my attention to my breath. I'm going to try to keep my breath nice and calm. I'm going to try to take the tension out of my muscles. If I'm feeling tension in my neck, if I'm feeling tension in my back, if I'm feeling tension in my knees or discomfort in my knees, I'm just going to try to let that tension fade. Now I'm actually going to try to perform the movement. So for me, I tend to bend my knees. Just going to shift over so I don't fall off the table as I roll over, nice and slow. Trying to keep my breath as calm as possible, as relaxed as possible, as I make small adjustments. Now, I didn't think about that in my visualization or in my imagery with the need to shift over. But I know for next time that I should be thinking about that when I go and practice this imagery again. From here, I'm gonna look over to my left. I'm gonna shift a little bit more. Slowly let my knees pull me over to the left side while keeping my breath calm, steady, nice and relaxed, very relaxed. From here, I'm gonna use the weight of my legs to actually help me sit up. For some people, it might be torquey through the knees to do that or through the hips to do that, in which case maybe you have a different way that you'd like to get up or that you have figured out. Or maybe you have a bed rail next to your bed, or you use the hand cushion for on the couch, or just the armrest. There we go. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna still maintain a calm breath, let my legs fall off the bed. If it helps, you can take a deep breath and try to exhale as you very slowly sit up. Imagining all those positive thoughts, those movements being less painful. So this is a good point just to take a breath, check in on your body, see how you're doing. Again, we don't have to do any of these movements. If you prefer to visualize the movements and just think about the movements, that's fine. For some people, simply thinking about doing a movement might bring on pain, and that's quite possible. If you prefer not to think about the movement for now, that's fine. Or if you're up for it, you can see whether you're able to calm the system when you think about that movement. See whether you can take some deep breathing, allow things to relax, let things settle down. See whether you're able to prevent that pain from coming on. Okay. So if you need it, take a breath, take some water. The next one we're going to start to play with are some of the movements that you might do sitting down. My table is quite high. If you prefer sitting on a chair that's a little bit lower, that's fine. If you want to do it on a high bed or your couch, whatever feels comfortable for you is what's important. So I'm going to move this mat out of the way here so I've got a little bit more space to work with. And I'm going to grab my shoe just as something to work with if I need it. Okay. So now we're in a sitting position. And some of the tasks that we need to do in sitting are things like putting your socks on and off, or putting your shoe on, or reaching for something on the floor that you need to get out of the way. If you have a high bed or a high couch that you're working with, or a high chair, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult. If you're close to the ground, sometimes people find that easier, but then it's harder to get up. So you pick what feels right for you. And again, if you don't want to do the movement, you can think about doing half the movement, not going all the way to the ground. Or you can simply just visualize yourself doing that movement without experiencing much pain or feeling comfortable doing that movement. Okay. So the first thing we'll do is visualize ourselves putting a sock on. Okay. Again, you can close your eyes or keep your eyes open for this. I'm going to close my eyes because it's easier for me to visualize myself doing that task with my eyes shut. So I want you to think about, where are you when you're putting your socks on? Are you sitting in a chair? Are you sitting on your couch? Are you sitting on your bed? Are you sitting at the kitchen table? Where do you typically put your socks on? And I want you to think about, what socks are you putting on? Are they your ankle socks? Are they socks that come up to your shins? Are they wool socks? Are they cotton socks? Are your feet feeling cold? Are they feeling sweaty? Are they feeling warm because you just got out of bed and it's summer? What does the rest of your body feel like? And I want you to visualize yourself feeling loose. I want you to visualize yourself feeling good. Today is a good day. You can, again, bring your mind to what are the other things that are happening within your environment. Do you have other people at home who are making noises elsewhere, who are talking to you, who are cooking, watching TV? Is the TV playing in the background? What's happening within your environment? What does it feel like when you put your socks on? Is it something that you have to build up to? Is it something that you have to really psych yourself up to do it? And when you typically do it, you have to push through it, try hard to put it on, kind of grunt and bear down. Do you have any tools to help you put your socks on? There are some tools that you can just place the sock on, kind of like a cylinder, and you slide your foot through that cylinder so you don't actually have to reach down to put the sock around your foot. In which case, if you use that, how do you set it up? Do you grab the sock in front of you, and when do you place it on the ground? What is the material made up of? Is it plastic? What does it feel like? Is it cold? Is it hot? And then I want you to visualize yourself doing it in a relatively comfortable way, keeping your breath calm, keeping your breath relaxed, feeling confident that you're able to do it with less pain. And just take a minute and see yourself running through that task, or just working your way through that task in a comfortable way. Now you can check your breathing. Is your breathing staying calm? Or has it increased? Is it a little bit more rapid because the thought of putting your sock on is a little bit anxiety inducing? If it has increased, maybe you can calm it down. Ask yourself, how do you want to feel when you're putting your sock on? Do you want to feel confident, positive, capable, hopeful? Work on calming that breath. And when you're ready, you can just imagine, you don't actually have to put your sock on or off, but you can go through the motions. I'll keep my sock on. Moving slowly, comfortably. Perhaps you help yourself lift your leg, and then you can place it back down, or you've got that assistive device that helps you put your sock on for you. Now let's think about doing the other side. So I was visualizing my left side. I probably should have said that, kind of forgot, but now I'm going to visualize doing my right side. So thinking about, again, what time of day is it? Where am I? How am I feeling? What's happening around me? What clothes am I wearing? What are the thoughts running through my mind? Can I shift them into positive thoughts? Imagining myself doing it with less pain, doing it in a more comfortable way. If you don't want to do the activity, that's totally fine. You can just visualize yourself doing If you feel confident doing it, then check in on your breath. Make sure it's feeling calm and relaxed. If you found that your breath has increased, or it's a little bit more rapid, or you're taking shallower breaths, then really focus on calming the breath as much as possible. And then when you're ready, you're going to go about putting your sock on the way that you would typically think about putting your sock on. For some, it might be bending over, lifting their leg. For others, they might not need to use their hands. And you can go through the process, trying to stay as calm, as fluid, as gentle as possible. Okay, so check in on yourself. If you need to, stand up, move around, do whatever you need to do. If you'd like to sit down, if you'd like to lay down, do whatever you need to do right now to feel good in your body. If you need to take a break, that's fine. If you want to go grab a glass of water, take a break. That's totally fine. We'll give you a minute and we'll start doing the next visualization exercise. Feel free to join whenever you're ready. This next one, we're going to think about reaching for something off the floor. And I've got my shoe out in front of me. You don't have to have anything in front of you. You can just imagine something on the floor. But I'm gonna visualize myself having to put my shoe on now. So the way that I typically put my shoe on is like this. Okay. So that's what I'm going to visualize, is that process of putting my shoe on. Actually, sorry, I'm going to backtrack there. We're not going to put the shoe on. We're just going to think about reaching for something off the floor. So yeah, I'll leave my, actually, you know what, I'm going to grab a roll of tape. I'm going to say I dropped that roll of tape and I just need to get it off the floor. Okay, so people will have different strategies for getting that roll of tape off the floor. For some, it might be actually using their foot and then bending over, so it's a little bit closer. People might have a stick to grab things off the floor. Others might feel comfortable reaching for something off the floor. So I want you to think of something that's somewhat challenging for you, that has in the past brought on some pain, perhaps. And we're going to think about doing that activity again in a fluid, slow, calm way, thinking about what it would feel like if we didn't experience a lot of pain or discomfort while doing the activity. So we're going to go back to those cues, and I'll give you a different way of visualizing yourself or going through this imagery type exercise. What you can think about doing is observing yourself from over there. So you're looking down at yourself doing the activity. Some people prefer to remove themselves from their body and imagine themselves or just looking down at themselves performing the task. Or you can think about doing it yourself inside your body. So there are two different options there. For this one, let's just picture ourselves doing the activity from afar. So you're looking down at yourself actually doing the activity. And I want you to think about what are some of the times where you might be sitting and you've dropped something on the floor. So, you know, a kitchen, or sorry, a utensil, so maybe a fork or a knife that you've dropped onto the floor. Think about how your body has reacted in the past having done that. And think about how you might be able to do that without experiencing as much pain. So think about where you are. Are you in a restaurant? Are you at home eating dinner at the kitchen table? Are you eating dinner in front of your TV? Where are you when this might happen? Just pick one place and think about how do you actually go about doing it? Do you reach down with your hands? Do you go and grab one of those sticks that you can use to pick up objects off the floor? What is your process? Do you bend through the hips? Would you rather bend to the side to pick it up? Or would you rather bend straight out in front of you? Is it better? Is one side better than the other? How would you go about picking up that object, that knife on the floor? And I want you to imagine, I was turned this way, I got disoriented, keeping my eyes closed. I'm just gonna bring myself back to the camera. I want you to imagine doing this activity and doing it in a comfortable and a safe way, feeling confident that you're able to achieve the activity. When you're ready, you're going to check in on your breathing. Work on trying to keep it calm, nice and relaxed. And then if you do have something on the floor, you're going to work on reaching for something, nice and slow, moving gently, trying to keep our movement as slow, as relaxed as possible before we come up and pick up the object off the floor. And since we're here, we might just add some variety into the movement. We'll place it down over, let's say one side, let's say the left side, moving slowly, gently, keeping our breath calm, trying to keep the tension in our body nice and low. And then we might use our other hand, nice and slow. If you feel comfortable, you don't have to do this. If you'd like, maybe you go halfway. Trying to keep our tension low, trying to keep our body nice and relaxed. You can place your hand on your lap, or you can place your hand on your hip, whatever feels comfortable. Okay. Let's shake it out. Take a bit of a break here. I just need to check the time, make sure I'm doing all right. So we might do one other one other functional task, or just one other movement to think about. And this is one that people frequently have difficulties with, and it's just simply going from a sitting position to a standing position. So what I'd like you to do is just think about an occasion in which case you would go from a sitting position to standing. So again, it might be at your kitchen table, or it might be watching a movie at home on your couch, or in a movie theater. You might be coming off the bus or sitting down in your car. The car thing might be a little bit tricky because there's a twisting action. So for simplicity's sake, we're just going to think about going from a sitting position to a standing position. And I want you to take a minute, close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing it. For me, it's easier to visualize myself doing that task. I want you to think about, where are you when you go from a sitting position to a standing position? What's happening around you? If you're sitting on a bus, can you hear other people talk? Are you trying to pay attention to the stops that are coming up and where you are when your stop's coming up? Are you looking at your phone? Are you sitting on the toilet? Where are you, and what's happening around you? What can you hear? What can you smell? Are you tasting anything? What do you see around you? And what are some of the thoughts that are going through your mind when you think about standing up? let's think about how can we do this smoothly, slowly, while experiencing less pain or no pain? Are we able to simply slowly and fluidly stand up? And think about the action. What's the process of standing up? You have to plant your feet on the floor. Are your hands on your laps? Do you push off the chair? Do you have an armrest that you're pushing off of? Think about that position. Where are you? What's around you? How does it feel? How do I feel confident that I can do this with less pain? If all you want to do is visualize, that is totally fine. We're going to try to stand up in a second here. Before we try to stand up, I just want you to check on your breath. If you find that it's kind of spiked up, that it's increased, then I want you to try to calm it back down. Try to keep all the tension nice and loose, nice and low, nice and relaxed. Slow your breathing if you can. If you found that it went up, if it's feeling relaxed already, then you're doing well. And then when you're ready and you go through the process of standing up, nice and slow, trying to keep your breath steady, trying to keep your body and your tension as relaxed as possible while you go to stand up. And if you're up for it, you may as well try a few more of these. And you can think about very slowly sitting down, keeping your breath calm, nice and relaxed. If you reach down to sit down, that's fine. The idea here is we're trying to do this the way that we visualized it. We're trying to go through the motions while thinking about how we felt during our visualization, trying to keep things as low tension as possible. Oftentimes when we go from a sitting position to a standing position, if we experience pain doing it, we frequently see people brace or tense or hold their breath, that type of thing. So if we're visualizing smooth, fluid movement, and we try to keep our movement nice and relaxed, nice and slow, it can oftentimes make that task a little bit easier with a little bit less pain while you're doing it. Visualizing it is also a way of getting our body ready to do the activity. And thinking about the movement can really help with building these new neural pathways that perhaps have a focus or put the emphasis on experiencing less pain, thinking about doing it with less pain or no pain whatsoever. It can be really quite helpful. So with that, I think I'm gonna open up the floor for questions if anybody has any questions, or I have maybe another 5 minutes or so if somebody has a movement or an activity that they would like to try. But let's open it up to questions if anybody has any.
Sure. Thanks, Will, and thanks everyone. Yeah, so if anyone has questions, we'll launch, here's the poll. First of all, you can tell us what you thought. And if you have a question, put it in the Q&A or in the chat and I'll read it to Will. Well, while we're waiting to see if anyone does have a question, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I was just curious about, at the beginning, you were talking about the kind of science behind the like visualization technique.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to know more about that, because I think it's a pretty fascinating area of research.
Yeah.
Is there anything like, is there like a good lay summary? Like we don't want to have not all of us have degrees in physio. So we don't want to totally. What could you recommend?
Ooh, that's a good question. Honestly, I need to get back to you on that one. I've been reading a research article I don't think it's not a great layperson summary. So if you'd like, I can get back to you and we can post in the comments later.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't have a great answer for that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, and I was asked it because I was curious, like, is there anything, right? Because it's, I don't know if it's sort of moved, I don't know how long the kind of thinking has been around. Is the research really new? Like, it might, a lay summary might not really exist, right? It might only kind of exist in the databases right now, or the research or the journal articles.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, you've seen a lot of this stuff come up in sports psychology fields. This imagery work's been around for a long time within that realm, and there's you're starting to see more of this type of stuff for chronic pain as well. I was, before this presentation, I was just kind of reviewing some of the research, and there's this, a systematic review published in 2019, so very recent. But I think there are at least 8 studies, so it's there's not that many studies looking into this type of stuff as far as the pain world is concerned. As far as I know, there's about 8 of them.
Right.
So it's still very fresh, very new, but I think there's a lot of potential for this type of stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'll share the article with you.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great. And for myself, I remember reading The Brain That Changes Itself, like the Norman Doidge book. I don't know if you've read that. It's all about neuroplasticity, but it's kind of a lay summary of all of these sort of amazing cases. So they did have a kind of a visualization, a brain visualization thing there. I think that's slightly different than what you're talking about. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Interesting.
Yeah, I find this stuff fascinating. It's a great way of tapping into your body without actually, if movements are quite painful and you're not quite there and trying them, then it's a great way of tapping into the neural networks that already exist in your brain to create the movement and to change those neural networks. So talking about that neuroplasticity, our brain is forever adaptable. It's always something that's able to change. And part of the goal of the imagery work or visualization work is that you're trying to change those neural pathways to experience a little bit less pain while doing that activity, or visualizing yourself doing it with less pain or no pain whatsoever. So that you're trying to create new networks in your brain that's already associated with movements without actually having to do the movement, which is pretty neat. Yeah.
That is really cool. Thanks for that. Okay, I don't think we have questions, so we'll leave it there. But just to say thanks again, that was really interesting. It was a departure from what we usually do in this class, but it was really, really an interesting approach. So thanks for sharing that with us, Will, and thanks to everyone for participating, and we'll see you all next week. Have a great weekend.
Great. Thanks, Jen.
Bye.
Bye.